There we go.
Okay.
It was bad. And then I learned a very valuable lesson. Do not open up a minivan door on the highway while going 70. Bad. It's like every movie you've ever seen where the cabin depressurizes on an airplane. It's like, my CDs!
Guys, we're moving out. Child
My Maiden Voyage Tour commemorative posters!
So why did you never tour until now, and how did you all convince him to come along?
I'll start that one by saying I've never toured until now because I don't own a car. They do.
It was nice because we'd been working with Voltaire for a bunch of years. We got to record with him a while back, and the story we got from V was that he was talking to our booking agent, and it was kind of neat because our booking agent was trying to sell him on us. And
there's this band.
They're
not very good. they're awful people.
But they have a vehicle.
They do drive.
And they're willing to do ridiculous long drives for your benefit.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
But I was talking to their booking agent. This guy Ethan, he has a company called Sepia Tone. I always want to say Sepia Core. Now I can't get Sepia Cord and Sepia Tone out of my head. So Sepia Tone, and they book the Cruise Shadows tours, and
they do Cruise Shadows.
And so I thought, you know what? I've never done a tour. I really need to grow the fuck up and take my career seriously and go on tour. And so I called him and said, what do you think? And he said, well, in your particular case, because I thought I was going to do the tour just like I normally do. I was going to be like, so I will be flying out of Manhattan to Baltimore, and the very next day I'll be flying to Pittsburgh. He was like, no. That's not how it's going to work. You miss one flight, and then like all the other shows are in jeopardy. And these days, you miss a lot of flights because there's too many planes in the air, and they're canceling flights every 30 seconds. And thanks to Al Gore and his fucking global warming, the weather's so crazy, you never know what's going to happen. So he said, no, you really need to drive. He said, your best bet is to team up with a band who knows the road, who has toured before, and because you're just one guy in a guitar, you can jump in their vehicle and go with them. And then he said, I would recommend Ego Likeness. And I said, oh, I love them. I've had sex with both of them. And by both of them, I mean Steve. I don't even know what that means.
You know what? I had some numbers here that I figured out.
Yeah?
Yeah. So on a 30-day on a 30-day tour, there are 720 hours. We spent 200 and hey, thanks. We spent.
You are definitely not a ninja. I'm sober enough to know this.
You just wish you were less sober.
Yes.
200 hours driving in 30 days. That's how
We
many
spent
hours
200 hours driving.
We spent approximately 200 hours in clubs.
In clubs.
From sound check to the time.
The rest of that time we spent pooping in gas stations. That's a lot of driving, 200 hours. But I will say this. I've always had a really sort of low opinion of the United States of America. I really have. I will say that. And, yeah, well, maybe I'm a fucking communist, okay? I may be fascist. I'm definitely not a communist. I love my money. No one else can have it. But I realized on this tour that it was largely due to the fact that I don't get out much. You know, I mean, what do I see when I do one-offs and two-offs and three-offs? I see an airport, I see their airport, I see a hotel, I see the nightclub, and I see whatever I see in the ride between the hotel and the nightclub. And that's it. And I've always thought that everyone in America was as shitty as everyone in New Jersey. I just always assumed that everything, you know, geographically in America was at the very best the nicest it gets in New Jersey. I live in Manhattan, by the way, but growing up in New Jersey is really the only like sort of wildlife I've ever seen. Shut up. A factory is kind of wild. Anyway, rats. Yes, yeah, rats. In any case, the point of the story is that, and they told me, they said, we're going to start driving, and you're going to see pretty much everything you've always seen, and it's going to be shitty for several days. And then we're going to hit Denver?
Yeah.
Denver.
Yeah.
We're going to hit Denver, and then it's going to become a completely different ballgame. And dear God, we hit Denver and the Rockies, and it suddenly went from, you know, like Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, Walmart, Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, White Castle, to mountains, big mountains, big giant snow-covered mountains on beautiful sunny days. And then 20 minutes later, we're in a blizzard at the top of a giant mountain. And there are herds of big mountain rams scaling cliff faces 2 feet away from the road.
And that's really not an exaggeration. You could have reached out of the window
reached out
and
and
slapped them.
I would think they touched them.
The rams make me angry.
And then a half an hour later, we're coming down the mountain, and then an hour later, we're in high desert. And it was spectacular. And I really didn't know how beautiful this country is until I did this tour. And this country has unspeakable beauty in it. I also thought that every square inch was developed, had something built on it. I thought we had totally assimilated this entire land, you know, living on the East Coast. And I just remember thinking as we drove through Nevada, how have they not built anything here yet? Why don't people want to live here? I could put up a giant fucking building right here and call it mine. I still don't know the answer to that question, why there aren't giant buildings there. But there was so much natural beauty that we saw. And then the other thing that really, really struck me was that maybe I watched too many movies, or maybe I just, to me, you know, the countryside is an hour outside of New York City, where everybody's really douchey. But I really expected, especially looking the way that we do, I expected that we would be stopping at 7-Elevens and getting like, hey fag, what are you into Marilyn Manson, you fucking homos? And no one had a negative word to say to us on the entire tour. And everywhere we went, from every like gas station we stopped at, any 7-Eleven or Waffle House or whatever, like everyone was just super nice as could be, which also gave me a newfound appreciation for a lot of the people in this country.
That's what I did on my summer vacation.
You were saying that it surprised you that you had to actually stop and take days off to let your voice rest. What were some other things that were different about playing shows in a tour format instead of just going out and playing one and coming back?
Donna telling me an hour after a show that we were driving for 12 hours to somewhere else. That was not so much fun. There was another thing that was really not fun, and that was that I didn't realize how spoiled I am. Like, I really have gotten very spoiled because, you know, I get up, I go to the airport, I sleep on the plane, and then I go to wherever I'm going, and there's a promoter waiting to pick me up, and they drive me to a hotel where I sleep for another few hours. Then I eat something, then I go to the club and do sound check. Then sometimes I go back to the hotel and check my MySpace and hang out for another couple of hours. Then I go to the club when the club opens and I sit there and do my thing. This was very different. This was like, drive for 12 hours, show up at the club, and be there from 3 p.m. until it closes at 4 a.m. And no real private places for the pooping.
Chick's bathroom before the doors open.
Amen.
That's where you want to go.
Yeah, Chick's bathroom before doors open. I learned that from Steve.
It was funny, about 2 days before we left,
Speaking of which, Don.